You ever walk into a room and feel something shift? No words spoken, no obvious action, just a feeling deep in your gut, like the air got heavier, like something unseen is pressing down on you. That's not paranoia. That's awareness. Because whether we like to admit it or not everyone in our lives is who they seem to be. Some people don't just bring negativity, they pull you down. They chip away at your energy, your confidence, your vision piece by piece until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. And the worst part, they don't come with warning signs. They don't walk in announcing their intentions. They smile, they blend in, they play the part of a friend, a mentor, even a family member. But behind the mask, there's something else. Something that doesn't want you to win, doesn't want you to grow, doesn't want you to break free. But here's where it gets dangerous. These people don't need to physically harm you to destroy you. They work in shadows, planting doubts, feeding fears, twisting your reality. One day, you wake up and you're stuck, confused, drained. And the crazy part, you won't even realize how it happened. That's why you need to know the signs. Because once you see them, you can unsee them. And once you understand what's really going on, you take back control. You cut the strings. You stop being their puppet. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll never look at certain people the same way again. Now, let's get real. These people, the ones I'm talking about, they don't come with flashing lights or warning labels. They come as the ones who seem to care, the ones who pretend to support you. But if you look closer, if you really pay attention, you'll see the cracks in the mask. The first sign, they drain your energy without you even realizing it. You ever been around someone who leaves you feeling exhausted, not just tired, but mentally drained, like they took something from you? That's no accident. See, demons in human form don't need to attack you outright. All they need to do is be there, planting little seeds of doubt, making everything feel heavier than it is. Maybe it's a friend who always plays the victim, turning every conversation into their personal therapy session, but never asking about you. Maybe it's that family member who constantly reminds you of your past mistakes, never letting you grow beyond who you used to be. These people pull at your soul, not with force, but with weight. And the longer you keep them around, the heavier that weight becomes. But here's what makes them truly dangerous. You don't always recognize it's happening. You tell yourself they just need help. You convince yourself they don't mean to be this way. But deep down, you know the truth. They take more than they give. And if you let them, they'll drain you until there's nothing left. The second sign, they make you question your own reality. This one is subtle. It's not about yelling. It's not about obvious lies. It's about manipulation so smooth, so calculated, and you don't even see it happening. You say something, and they make you doubt you ever said it. You call out their behavior, and somehow you end up apologizing. They twist words, rewrite history, make you second guess yourself until you're stuck in a cycle of maybe I'm overreacting, maybe it's me. Let me tell you something. If you constantly feel like you're walking on eggshells, if you feel like you need proof of your own experiences just to stand your ground, you're not crazy. You're being controlled, and that's exactly what they want. The third sign, they celebrate your failures, but resent your success. Pay attention to how people react when you win, not when you struggle, not when you're down, when you rise. Because a real friend, a real supporter, they want to see you grow. But these people, they love you small. They love you manageable. The moment you start stepping into your power, leveling up, making moves, they get distant. Or worse, they start throwing shade, masking their jealousy as concern. Are you sure you can handle that? That's a big risk. I wouldn't do that if I were you. You've changed. Yeah, I hope I changed. That's the point. See, real demons in your life don't want you to break free, because if you do, you might realize you never needed them in the first place. And that is their biggest fear. Now, if any of this is hitting home, if you're starting to think about certain people in your life, good. Because awareness is the first step to taking your power back. But we're just getting started. The fourth sign, they disguise control as concern. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous tricks these people use to disguise control. See, a true manipulator doesn't want you to see the chains. They make you think you're free, all while tightening their grip. And the most effective way they do it, by making you believe they're only looking out for you. They'll say things like, I just don't want to see you get hurt. I know you better than you know yourself. I'm only saying this because I care. Sounds harmless, right? But pay attention to when they say it. It's never when you're stuck. It's never when you're struggling. It's always when you're about to do something big. Something bold. Something that might actually change your life. Because here's the truth, they don't fear you failing. They fear you succeeding without them. They fear losing the control they've had over your decisions. And the more you listen, the more you shrink. The more you start second-guessing yourself, waiting for their approval before making a move. And that's how they win. That's how they keep you small. The fifth sign, they project their fears onto you. This one is dangerous because it feels like guidance. These people, whether they're friends, family, mentors, they'll take their limitations, their past failures, their fears, and they'll dump them on you. They'll say, you know how hard it is to make it in that industry. People like us don't get those kinds of opportunities. It's not realistic. But listen, just because they couldn't do it, just because they settled, just because they let fear when that has nothing to do with you. But that's what demons do. They plant doubt like a seed, water it with negativity, and before you know it, you're the one holding yourself back. Not because you weren't capable, not because the opportunity wasn't there, but because someone else's fear became your mindset. And let me tell you something, your future has no room for other people's fears. If you want to grow, if you want to build something real, you need to start recognizing who's speaking into your life. Because not every voice deserves your ear. The sixth sign, they keep you in a cycle of guilt and obligation. This one is the hardest to break free from. Because when someone has been in your life for years, when they've been there through your ups and downs, it's easy to feel like you owe them. Like no matter how toxic they become, no matter how much they hold you back, you can't walk away because of everything they've done for you. And that's exactly how they keep you trapped. They bring up the past. They remind you of times they helped you. They make you feel like cleaving would make you the villain. They use history as a leash, tightening it every time you try to pull away. But here's what you need to understand. Loyalty should never cost you your peace. And the moment you realize that, the moment you stop letting guilt dictate your decisions, that's when you start taking your life back. And look, I know it's not easy. I know cutting ties, setting boundaries, walking away from people you once trusted, it's hard. But ask yourself this, are they really supporting you? Or are they just keeping you from realizing your full potential? Because the seventh and final sign, that's the one that changes everything. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Now, if you've made it this far, you already know we're not talking about casual negativity. We're not talking about people who just had bad days or make mistakes. We're talking about real demons in disguise, people who work behind the scenes, shaping your mindset, controlling your emotions, keeping you locked in a cycle you don't even realize you're trapped in. And if you haven't identified one of these people in your life yet, pay attention, because the seventh and final sign is the one that will open your eyes forever. The seventh sign, they never celebrate your freedom. Let me ask you something: who in your life actually celebrates when you break free, when you step outside of your comfort zone, when you finally take that leap toward your future instead of the one imagined for you? Because this is the most revealing sign of all. A real friend, a real supporter, someone who genuinely loves you. They want to see you win no matter what. They want to see you happy, thriving, and independent. But demons, they don't celebrate your freedom. They fear it. See, these people thrive on control. And that control comes in different forms. Some do it through guilt, making you feel like you owe them your loyalty. Some do it through manipulation, making you doubt your own decisions. Some do it through fear, making you believe the world is too dangerous, that success too risky, that failure is inevitable. But the common thread, they never want you to be free of them. Ever notice how some people are always supportive until you start making moves that put you in control of your own life? Maybe it's the friend who was all for your dreams until you actually started taking action. Maybe it's the family member who was fine with you talking about change, but the moment you start setting boundaries, they lash out. Maybe it's the coworker who jokes about how big you're getting, but there's something off in their tone, like they don't really mean it. That's because deep down, they know the moment you realize your own power, you won't need them anymore. And that terrifies them. The truth about demons, why they do what they do now, I need you to understand something. These people, they're not always evil. They're not waking up every day thinking, how can I ruin this person's life? But that doesn't change what they are. Because demons aren't just defined by their actions. They're defined by their impact. Some of them don't even realize what they're doing. They don't understand that their need for control, their toxic patterns, their manipulation, it's coming from their own fears, their own trauma, their own failures. And instead of facing it, instead of working through it, they push it onto you. But that doesn't mean you have to accept it. That doesn't mean you have to stay wrapped in their cycle. Because at the end of the day, you have two choices. One, stay where you are. Keep allowing these people to shape your mindset, drain your energy, dictate your future. Or to recognize the signs, take back control, and step into the life you were meant to live. And if you're still wondering, still debating, still unsure whether someone in your life fits these signs, let me leave you with this: if someone truly belongs in your life, you shouldn't have to question whether they're hurting you. You shouldn't have to second guess their intentions. You shouldn't feel drained, manipulated, or trapped. Because real love, real support, it doesn't make you feel small. So ask yourself who in your life is lifting you up and who's just been keeping you from realize you never needed them in the first place. Now let me make something clear. This isn't just about cutting people off for the sake of it. This isn't about walking away from everyone who's ever hurt you. Because real relationships, they're messy. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But this is different. This is about identifying the people in your life who are actively holding you back. The ones who don't want you to succeed. The ones who would rather keep you small than see you step into your power. And trust me, they know exactly what they're doing. Why demons don't want you to wake up. See, here's the thing about control: it only works if the person being controlled doesn't realize it's happening. That's why the most dangerous demons don't attack you directly. They don't come in screaming, making it obvious. No, they plant seeds of doubt. They wished reality just enough to make you question yourself. They keep you so busy trying to fix, please, or prove yourself that you never have time to actually see what's happening. Because the moment you see it, the moment you recognize the pattern, the cycle breaks. That's why people like this will never just let you go. Have you ever noticed that the moment you start pulling away, they suddenly become nicer? They start apologizing, acting like they've changed, throwing little crumbs of affection just to keep you hooked. That's not real growth. That's control, because the truth is, they don't want you to be happy. They want you to need them. The invisible chains that keep you stuck now. Let's talk about the hardest part of all of this. Because once you recognize the signs, once you see who's been draining you, the real challenge begins. Because these people, they're not just strangers. They're not just acquaintances. Most of the time, they're the people closest to you. And that's what makes this so hard. See, if a random stranger tried to hold you back, it wouldn't work. If someone you barely knew tried to manipulate you, you catch it. But when it's your best friend, when it's your parent, when it's the person you thought was your biggest supporter, that's when it hurts the most. And that's why so many people stay stuck. Because they tell themselves, their family, how could I just walk away? We've been friends for years, I can't just cut them off. Maybe they'll change, maybe if I just give them one more chance. But here's the brutal truth, time doesn't equal loyalty. Just because someone's been in your life for years doesn't mean they deserve to stay. Just because you have history doesn't mean they have a place in your future. And if someone is keeping you from growing, if their presence is costing you your peace, your confidence, your dreams, you have to ask yourself, how much more are you willing to lose? Breaking free, why it's the hardest thing you'll ever do now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Letting go, walking away, setting boundaries with people who have controlled you for years. It's not easy. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna feel unnatural. Because for so long, you've been conditioned to believe that their presence is normal. You've been made to feel like you need them. That without them, you wouldn't be who you are. And when you finally decide to break free, they will fight back. They'll guilt trip you, they'll turn people against you, they'll make you feel like you're the bad guy. But listen to me, choosing yourself is not selfish. Protecting your peace is not wrong. Outgrowing people who refuse to grow with you is not betrayal. Because if someone truly loved you, if they truly cared about your happiness, they wouldn't need to manipulate you to stay. So ask yourself, are the people in your life really supporting you? Or are they just afraid of what happens when you realize you never needed them to begin with? Because the moment you break free, that's when your life really begins. Now, if you're still here, if you're still listening, that means something deep inside, you know something isn't right. You felt it, you've lived it, and now you can unsee it. And that's the first step toward freedom. But don't think for a second that breaking free is going to be easy, because demons, real demons in disguise, they never let go without a fight. What they fight back the hardest when you try to leave, let me tell you something, when you start setting boundaries, when you stop playing by their rules, when you begin to take control of your own mind and your own future, that's when they show their true colors. At first, they might laugh. They'll mock your growth. They'll tell you you're being dramatic, that you're overreacting. They'll say things like, oh, so now you're too good for us. You've changed? You're just acting like this because of all that motivational stuff you've been watching. But what they're really saying is, I'm scared. I'm losing control. You're waking up and I don't know how to keep you under my influence anymore. And when mocking doesn't work, they'll switch tactics. They'll suddenly act nice. They'll start doing things for you, being extra supportive, showering you with attention. Not because they've changed, but because they're trying to reel you back in. It's a cycle. It always has been. And if you fall for it, if you let them back in one more time, the cycle will continue. The hardest truth, some people only love you when you're under their control now, this part. It's gonna hurt. Because what you're about to realize is that some people in your life never really loved you. They loved controlling you. They loved having access to your energy, your loyalty, your time. They loved knowing that no matter how they treated you, you'd always come back. When you finally decide that you're done, that you deserve more, that you're going to choose yourself for once, that's when their love disappears. That's when you see the truth. Because real love, it doesn't vanish the moment you stop being useful to someone. Real love doesn't punish you for setting boundaries. So if walking away from someone makes them hate you, if setting a boundary makes them turn on you, they never loved you to begin with. They loved owning you. While breaking free feels like losing everything, but it's actually the beginning of everything now. Let me prepare you for something. When you finally let go of these people, when you finally stop letting them manipulate you, it's gonna feel empty at first. You're gonna feel lonely. You're gonna question yourself. You might even miss them because for so long, they've been a part of your identity. For so long, you've adjusted your entire life around making them happy, keeping the peace, avoiding conflict. And now, you're stepping into the unknown. Now, you're finally choosing yourself. But hear me when I say this, that emptiness, that silence, that loneliness, it's freedom. And soon, you'll start to feel it. The peace of waking up without anxiety. The clarity of knowing your thoughts are finally your own. The strength of realizing you don't need anyone's approval to live your life. Because that's what these demons have been keeping you from all along. Your power. While they tried to stop you, what they feared all along. Listen, if someone has spent years trying to convince you that you're weak, that you can't make it without them, that you're nothing on your own, why do you think they worked so hard to make you believe that? Because deep down, they knew the truth before you did. They knew you were powerful. They knew you were capable. They knew you had something inside of you that could break every single chain they tried to put on you. And that's what terrified them. Not that you'd fail, not that you'd be lost without them, but that you'd finally realize you never needed them to begin with. And now you do. Now you see what they've been trying to keep you from seeing all along. So the question is, what are you going with that knowledge? Are you going to keep playing their game, keep shrinking yourself to keep them comfortable? Or are you going to step into your power finally, once and for all? Because the choice, it's yours now. At this point, you're seeing it clearly. You're recognizing the patterns. You're starting to understand how these people operate. If you're feeling a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, maybe even relief, that's completely normal. Because realizing the truth about someone you've trusted, it shakes your entire world. It makes you question everything. It makes you wonder, how did I not see this before? How could I have let this go on for so long? But let's not waste time blaming yourself. Don't waste time regretting the past. Because demons thrive on guilt. They want you to stay stuck in regret. They want you to feel ashamed. Why? Because as long as you're looking back, you're not moving forward. And forward, that's exactly where you need to be heading. While your growth is their biggest fear, you ever notice how the moment you start changing, the moment you start improving your life, certain people around you getting comfortable. You start working out, they say, oh, so now you think you're better than us. You start treating, learning, developing your mind. And Imaki, you really think that's gonna change anything. You set a goal, you tell them your dreams, and suddenly they're full of doubts, criticisms, negativity. Why do they do that? Because your growth threatens their control. See, as long as you stay the same, as long as you don't change, they don't have to change either. They don't have to face their own weaknesses, their own lack of discipline, their own failures. But the moment you step up, the moment you break the mold, the moment you start proving that it is possible to change, to improve, to become something more, that's when they panic. Because now they have no excuse. Now they can't say, it's just not possible. Now they can't say, people like us don't succeed. Now they can't say, that's just the way life is. Because you just proved them wrong. And instead of being inspired by you, instead of growing alongside you, they'd rather drag you back down. And if you let them, if you give in, if you shrink yourself just to make them comfortable, then you lose. The people who secretly want you to fail now. Let's talk about one of the hardest truths of all. There are people in your life, people you care about, who are secretly hoping you fail. And I know that's a painful thought, because we want to believe that the people around us support us. We want to believe that our family, our friends, our so-called loved ones want what's best for us. But here's the test. Tell them about your dreams. Tell them you're going to change your life. Tell them you're going to do something big. Now, watch how they react. Do they support you? Do they encourage you? Do they believe in you? Or do they immediately start planning doubts? Do they laugh? Do they roll their eyes? Do they list all the reasons why it won't work? Because here's the truth, real friends don't need you to stay small to feel big. But demons, they do, because if you rise, if you break free, if you become everything they said you couldn't be, they have to face the fact that they wasted their own potential. And that's too painful for them to accept. The silent battles you'll face when you choose to grow. So now you've made the decision. You know who's been holding you back. You know who's been feeding you doubt, filling your mind with negativity, keeping you stuck. But here's what nobody tells you: when you start cutting these people off, when you start protecting your energy, it's not going to be easy. You're going to feel alone. You're going to second guess yourself. You're going to wonder, did I do the right thing? Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should have given them one more chance. Because here's what's crazy: the mind craves familiarity. Even if that familiarity was toxic, even if that familiarity was painful. And when you step into the unknown, when you start building a life without them, your mind will try to pull you back. Not because it was good for you, not because you need them, but because it was comfortable. And comfort, that's where most people stay stuck. Why most people never escape the cycle. You ever wonder why some people live the same year over and over again? The same struggles, the same setbacks, the same excuses, because escaping the cycle requires pain. It requires growth. It requires discomfort. And most people, they'd rather stay in a bad situation than step into the unknown. That's why demons win so often. Not because they're stronger, not because they're smarter, but because they convince you that leaving is scarier than staying. But listen, your future, it's worth the discomfort. Your peace, it's worth the loneliness. Your happiness, it's worth the struggle. Because eventually, the loneliness fades. The pain passes. The doubts disappear. And what's left? A version of you that's finally free. So ask yourself, are you willing to face a little discomfort now? Or are you going to let them control the rest of your life? Because the choice, it's yours. This is it. This is the moment where everything changes. Because after everything we've talked about, after exposing the lies, the manipulation, the control, you have to make a choice. And that choice, it's going to define the rest of your life. The final sign, the moment of truth. Now, I need you to ask yourself a hard question. If you walked away from this person today, if you cut off their influence, their manipulation, their control, what would happen? Would they respect your choice? Would they support your decision? Would they say, I understand? I want what's best for you. Or would they fight you on it? Would they guilt trip you? Would they turn others against you? Would they punish you for daring to put yourself first? Because that is the final test. People who love you, people who truly want the best for you, they don't try to trap you. They don't need to own. They don't need to control your thoughts, your dreams, your future. But demons, they can't afford to let you go. Because without you, without your energy, without your loyalty, without your attention, they have nothing left. And when you realize that, that's when you win. Why most people never break free, and why will you ever notice how many people stay stuck, how many people live their entire lives in bondage, not physical chains, but mental ones. They stay in toxic relationships because they're scared to be alone. They keep negative friends because they don't want to be judged. They let family members abuse them emotionally because family is family. It's family. And you know what happens. They wake up one day years down the line and realize They wasted their entire life living for someone else. And by then, it's too late. Now, let me be clear, it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to break free. But the longer you wait, the harder it gets. The deeper the chains sink, the more comfortable the prison feels. And that's why most people never escape. But you're different because you're here, because you're listening, because something inside you refuses to stay stuck. And that voice inside you, that's the real you, the one they've been trying to silence all along. The real reason you're here right now, let me tell you something. You didn't find this video by accident. You didn't stay until this point just for entertainment. You stayed because you needed this, because deep down, you already knew the truth. You just needed someone to say it out loud. You needed permission to walk away. You needed confirmation that your instincts were right. Well, here it is, you were right all along. That feeling in your gut, that voice in your head, that uneasiness you've been feeling for years. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't overthinking. It wasn't you being too sensitive. It was the truth trying to break through. And now you see it. Now you can unsee it. So the question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Your next move, how to break free once and for all. Now that you know the truth, now that you see what's really been happening, what's the next step? Simple. You cut them off. She said boundaries. You stop giving them access to your mind, your emotions, your life. And I know it's not easy. It's not as simple as flipping a switch. Some of these people, they've been in your life for years, maybe even your whole life. But hear me when I say this, you owe it to yourself to break free, because your future, it's waiting for you. Your peace, your happiness, your success, it's all on the other side of this decision. And I promise you, the day you finally take that step, the day you walk away from the chains that have been holding you back, you're going to feel something you haven't felt in years. And once you taste it, you'll never let anyone take it from you again. Final words, your new life starts now. This is it. This is your moment. You've been given the knowledge. You've been shown the truth. Now it's up to you to act. Because listen, there are two kinds of people in this world. The ones who hear the truth and do nothing. The ones who stay stuck, who let fear, doubt, and guilt keep them in a life that drains them. And then there are the ones who wake up. The ones who take control. The ones who say, enough, I deserve better. I am capable of more. Which one are you going to be? Because your future is waiting. Your real life, it starts the moment you decide. So don't just listen to this, act on it. Because trust me, you'll look back on this moment one day and you'll realize this was the day everything changed. We are Wisdom Recorder, your knowledge source. Subscribe and like for more. Your journey is just beginning.